third icon up top is the labeling icon. By clicking on this button, it goes into our section for labeling. Every time we burn a fitting inside our takeoff screen, PractiCAM has all the labels already prepared for us. There are a couple different sections to the layout of this screen, so let's go over them one at a time. First, we have the top section where it says type. Essentially, PractiCAM keeps all of the labels sorted based on the level of fabrication, whether it was cut and labeled, whether the part was just labeled only, whether it was exported to the coil line or spiral line. You might have had something that you want labeled that's order only, rejected, scrap, and so on. All of the labels that we have will appear right down here. If we would like to see what was cut and labeled, you got to make sure that this is checked. If I have it unchecked, we will not see any labels down at the bottom. If I would like to see all the labels that were cut and labeled, I just keep it checked. If I would like to see the labels for all of the scrap, I can check that, and you can see the PractiCAM will add the scrap. For this tutorial, we're going to shut off the scrap and just work with the cut and label. You'll notice here we have the number of fittings, the number of actual parts to make these fittings, and the number of total sheets. All of this is being calculated and tracked for you at all times. Here what we have is a list of different types of printers that we are using. PractiCAM supports all printers, and all you have to do is select the one that you would like, and PractiCAM will automatically send your labels to that printer. Our next section here is for how you would like to sort labels. Labels can be sorted in any fashion that you choose. First, notice down here we have a metal or sheet label, which is over here on the right. We can see it better by clicking on full screen toggle. And now we can see a much better screen of our labels on the left, which are marked which type, and then the graphic representation of them on the right. You can see here we have a sheet label followed by the actual parts for that sheet. So on sheet 1 we have part 1, part 2, and part 3, and we have underneath it the label for part 2, part 3, and part 1. Then we can go on metal. We have the second sheet label, and then we have the 3 parts that are on there. Now we can decide to sort this differently. This is usually the way people prefer, but however, you might want things to be unsorted. Currently, we have everything sorted by cut. That is the way it is right now. We can also decide to keep it unsorted. If you check on unsorted, it's just going to leave all of the metal first, and then it's going to burn all the part labels after it, in no particular order. If you would like to sort it yourself, you can click on Sorted. By doing that, you will notice that we have all the properties for sort appear on the right. Here what we can do is drag the properties in for one at a time and put them in the order we'd like to sort. For example, if we would like to sort things by gauge first, we can hold down gauge with our left mouse click, drag it here, and drop it. If we would like then to sort by material, we can drag material and then drop it. PractiCAM will now sort the labels based on gauge first and then material. You can do it for any of the choices you see here under properties. The difference between sorted by nest and sorted by cut is rather simple. If we click on sorted by nest and then open up this particular toggle, we're going to go to metal and look at it. We have part 1, part 2, and part 3. You'll notice here we have the bottom, which is part 1, part 2, and part 3. When you sort by nest, what it does is it puts the labels out in the order at which they are nested, or by nest number. If you sort by cut, what it's going to do is put the labels out in the order that your plasma is cutting them. So example, here we have the metal sheet 1, 2, and 3, but first piece cut is actually part 2, second piece cut is part 3, and then the third piece cut is part 1. So sort by cut prints out the labels in the order at which your plasma is going to cut out the pieces of duct. We have here to include a barcode. Just by clicking on it, you'll notice, or unchecking it, it'll take away the barcode. PractiCAM does support all barcoding. We can print things separated if we like, and here we can decide what we'd like to see. We can say do sheet labels. You'll notice that the sheet labels have disappeared because I've unchecked it. If I check sheet labels, they'll appear again. Here's my sheet label. Each one is marked with metal. We can do face labels the same way and just print our sheet labels. Most of the time we're going to print both. We can also print extra sheet labels. If we check on that, you'll notice that PractiCAM will print one extra sheet label, and then it'll do the normal sort by cut labels. We can split label printouts by sheets if we'd like, and we can also do extra fitting labels. So not only can we do extra sheet labels, but we can do extra fitting labels. That will label all of our parts with extra label. You can see we have here 4 per sheet instead of 3. We have a start sheet and an end sheet giving us the numbers at which we want to see. For example, we might not want to see anything but sheet 7. Now we will only have from 1 to 7. If we would like to see all of our sheets at once, we can click on end sheet all the way to the end, which is 1 through 16. To navigate through sheets is very simple. We can either use our icons, which are the same for the nest, previous page, which moves it up 1. We can use start last page, which will jump down to the last page, or we can say start to the first page and it'll jump. We can also just click on the one we want and PractiCAM will adjust it, or we can move our browser up and down like so. If we would like to sort these in some different order other than they are printed, I can click on search enabled, and then I can start sorting the way we would do our fitting view columns in the input screen. I can say let's sort by piece number. I can click on it. I can say let's sort by system number or ID number, or let's sort by sheet. Either way we'd like to do it, PractiCAM can sort it if we'd like. Our last choice, of course, is the type of label we're going to use. PractiCAM comes with multiple defaults. We do customize all labels for you. However, you will be able to choose or in design any type of label you'd like, and right here you can select which one you'd like to apply. Right now we might be using special labels, which will enlarge, or we might decide to switch to a different label template, like a 4x3. Any one we would like to print, we just select the proper one, and then we click on our print keys. We can say print all, which will print everything. We can do print to current, which is whatever we're on now. For example, if I want to just print transition with different straights, I can highlight it and hit print current. Or I can do print selected, and therefore I can highlight multiple fitting labels or sheet labels and print just the ones that are selected. For example, I'm holding down the control key and clicking on my mouse, and now I'm letting go of the control key. I have now selected all of these labels. I can hit print selected. It'll print just the ones that are highlighted here. This concludes our tutorial on labeling.